Number 1, the opening strike. You want to know why people fall, why men with potential collapse long before they taste greatness? It's simple. They misuse their desire. They let it run wild like an untrained animal, dragging them into weakness, distraction, and self-betrayal. Niccolò Machiavelli warned centuries ago that a man who cannot rule his own impulses becomes a puppet, easy to tempt, easy to predict, easy to destroy. Look around you. Every downfall you've seen began with a craving that controlled the man instead of the man controlling the craving. Desire is not the enemy. Your lack of discipline is. You chase cheap dopamine, quick victories, soft comfort, validation from people who don't even respect themselves. And while you waste your hunger on these tiny rewards, life quietly sharpens its knife. This world worships control, control over yourself and control over your environment. Not feelings, not dreams, control. Machiavelli believed that power belongs to those who are cold enough to cut away the useless parts of themselves, the parts ruled by longing, fantasy, and emotional weakness. You want to be untouchable? Then stop feeding desires that weaken your authority over yourself. Turn your cravings into tools, not chains. Direct every impulse towards something that builds your strength instead of draining it. Desire becomes dangerous only when you kneel before it. But when you stand above it, when you force it to obey you, when your hunger becomes your weapon, then you rise above the crowd. You become the kind of man people fear disappointing, the kind of man who cannot be manipulated, the kind who grows sharper the more the world tests him. This is where your evolution begins, not by killing desire, but by mastering it. And if you're ready to continue, move to the next part. And remember, like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss what will make you stronger. Number 2, the anatomy of weakness. Most people never realize how predictable they are. You could map their downfall with a pencil. All it takes is one pressure point, one hidden desire they can't control. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. A man's greatest vulnerability is the craving he refuses to discipline. That's why manipulation works. That's why betrayal works. That's why entire empires fall. Not because the enemy is strong, but because the human heart is weak. Think about the last time you lost control, the last time you reacted instead of calculated, the last time you chased something that wasn't worth your energy. That moment exposed you. It revealed the exact lever someone could pull to make you crumble. This is why dark psychology begins with self-interrogation. You cannot master others until you master your own impulses. Every desire inside you has a price tag attached. Comfort demands your ambition, pleasure demands your discipline, validation demands your identity. And most men pay these prices without even noticing, handing over their power like it means nothing. You want to become untouchable? Then study your weaknesses the way a strategist studies the battlefield. Identify the urges that make you soft, expose the cravings that make you impulsive, hunt down the fantasies that make you blind. Desire is a trap only for men who walk into it blindly, but for a man who sees clearly, who observes his own mind without emotion, who cuts away any weakness with surgical precision. Desire becomes ammunition. It becomes direction. It becomes strategy. Machiavelli said a ruler cannot afford to be ruled by anything, not fear, not pleasure, not hope, and neither can you. Because the moment something owns your mind, it owns your fate. If you want to rise, start by breaking the chains you forged yourself. Now, if you're ready to go deeper, say Section 3, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Number 3, desire as a weapon. Here's a truth most men never discover. Desire is not meant to be suppressed, it's meant to be weaponized. Weak men treat desire like an addiction, strong men treat it like a blade. Machiavelli understood that power is rarely taken by force. It's taken by those who know how to direct their hunger with precision. Your desires reveal what you could become, but only if you learn to command them like soldiers, not chase them like a desperate fool. Every craving you have carries energy, raw, explosive, dangerous energy. When you aim it at meaningless pleasures, your strength evaporates. But when you harness it toward dominance, discipline, and purpose, you become unstoppable. Think of the great conquerors, the thinkers, the cold-blooded strategists of history. They didn't lack desire, they refined it. They channeled it, they forged it into relentless focus. That is why most men fail. They are ruled by impulses instead of strategy. They want everything, which means they end up with nothing. But a man who chooses one desire and commits to it with ruthless clarity becomes a force nature learns to respect. This is the Machiavellian approach. Let your desires burn, but keep the fire locked behind iron doors. Use it to heat your ambition, not scorch your life. When you want something, calculate. When you feel something, analyze. When you desire something, turn it into leverage. A man who can aim his hunger is more dangerous than a man with talent, resources, or connections, because his desire is sharpened into purpose, and that kind of man cannot be stopped, only awaited. So take your desires, strip them of weakness, and turn them into fuel. If you're ready for the next transformation, say Section 4. And remember to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Number 4. The seduction of self-betrayal. Every downfall begins with a quiet moment where a man lies to himself. That is the first seduction of desire. Not pleasure, not temptation, but self-betrayal. Machiavelli warned that the most dangerous enemy is the one inside your own mind. Because that enemy knows exactly where your armor cracks, it whispers excuses. It disguises weakness as comfort. It convinces you that one more time won't hurt, that tomorrow is enough, that discipline is optional. And the moment you agree, you betray the future version of yourself, the stronger, colder, sharper man you could have become. This is how desire destroys men, not in a single blow, but in tiny cuts that bleed them slowly. You think missing one day of hard work doesn't matter. You think seeking validation is harmless. You think giving in to a cheap craving makes no difference. But every time you surrender to desire, you train your mind to kneel. And once a man learns to kneel, life never lets him stand again. Dark psychology teaches that self-betrayal becomes a habit long before you realize it. You start tolerating behaviors that weaken you. You surround yourself with people who feed your impulses. You chase emotions instead of strategy, and slowly, quietly, you lose the authority over your own life. But here's the Machiavellian truth few can accept. The cure is brutality, brutality against your weaker self. You must become the judge, the executioner, the ruler of your own mind. No mercy for impulses that sabotage you, no tolerance for excuses, no forgiveness for self-deception. If you want power, you must first kill the version of you that keeps settling for less. And if you're ready to continue this evolution, say Section 5. And remember, like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Number 5, the cold discipline of power. Power does not belong to the strongest, the smartest, or the most talented. Power belongs to the man who disciplines himself when no one is watching. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. Authority grows from self-command. If you cannot govern your inner world, you will never influence the outer one. Discipline is not about routines or motivational highs. It's about declaring war on your own softness. It's the cold decision to do what strengthens you, even when your emotions scream for the opposite. Most men obey their feelings. That's why they stay average. But a man who forces his emotions to kneel becomes something entirely different. Dangerous, unpredictable, untouchable discipline is the only true advantage in a world ruled by distraction. It separates the hunter from the prey, the ruler from the ruled, the calculated mind from the chaotic one. Every time you choose discipline over impulse, you steal power from your weaker self and give it to the version of you that was built to dominate. You begin walking differently, thinking differently, acting with a stillness that unsettles people who can't control themselves. Machiavelli believed that a man who masters discipline becomes a weapon without needing to raise his voice or prove anything to anyone. His presence alone carries weight. His silence speaks louder than noise. His decisions cut sharper than any sword. That's the level you must reach, where your discipline becomes your identity, your armor, your aura. A man with discipline doesn't chase respect, it gravitates toward him. He doesn't demand loyalty, people give it willingly. He doesn't crumble under pressure, pressure reveals his precision. If you want this kind of power, discipline must be non-negotiable. Now, if you're ready to step deeper into the psychology of dominance, you say section 6, and remember to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Number 6, how desire makes you easy to control. If you want to understand how the world really works, study this one truth. A man controlled by his desires is a man controlled by everyone. Machiavelli knew that nothing makes a person more predictable than craving. Craving approval, craving pleasure, craving attention, craving comfort. Once someone knows what you desperately want, they can own you without lifting a finger. They can feed your ego when they need your obedience. They can withhold validation when they want your loyalty. They can offer temptation when they want your weakness. This is the silent architecture of manipulation. Not threats, not force, just desire, weaponized against the undisciplined. Dark psychology tells us that humans move toward what they want and away from what they fear, and the world exploits this every second. You think you're making choices, but in reality, your cravings are being played like strings. Look at the men who get trapped in toxic relationships, dead-end jobs, pointless addictions, endless loops of seeking attention. They all have one thing in common. Their desires made them readable, and a readable man is a controllable man. But the moment you stop letting your desires dictate your actions, everything changes. People can't predict you, they can't tempt you, they can't hook you with praise or crush you with silence. You become immune to emotional traps because your decisions are rooted in calculation, not craving. This is why the most powerful men appear cold. They aren't emotionless. They're unfed by external validation. Their desires serve them, not the world. When you reach that level, no one can enter your mind without permission. No one can bend your will. No one can use your hunger against you. You become the one who observes, not the one who reacts. If you're ready to learn how to turn this psychological shield into a weapon, say section 7. And remember, like the video, subscribe and turn on notifications. Number 7, turning hunger into strategic power. Here is where the transformation begins. Instead of killing your desires, you redirect them with surgical precision. Machiavelli taught that a wise man never eliminates his impulses. He reshapes them into tools that serve his ambition. Hunger is not your enemy, uncontrolled hunger is. When you take the raw energy of desire and forge it into strategy, you become a different breed of man. Most people burn their desire on low-value targets: approval, entertainment, pleasure, distraction. They spend their fire on crumbs. But you must reserve your fire for purpose. You take your craving for validation and convert it into the discipline to build something undeniable. You take your desire for comfort and twist it into the hunger for mastery. You take your longing for attention and redirect it into self-respect so strong it makes the world turn its head without you asking. This is strategic alchemy. Turning impulses into power. Desire becomes your fuel instead of your prison. It gives you stamina where others give up. It gives you clarity where others are confused. It gives you direction where others wander blindly. Dark psychology states that the man who controls where his desire flows becomes immune to emotional sabotage. He becomes focused, disciplined, and terrifyingly consistent. People can't manipulate him because there's nothing loose inside him to pull on. Every thread is tightly woven into a mission. Machiavelli would call this the foundation of inner sovereignty. When your desires obey your will, you don't react, you execute. You don't chase, you attract. You don't lose yourself, you refine yourself. This is the stage where real power, cold power, begins to take shape. And if you're ready to continue building that sovereign mind, say section 8. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Number 8, the mind of a man who cannot be broken. There is a rare kind of man the world fears, a man who cannot be broken because nothing inside him is loose. Machiavelli understood this archetype well. The individual whose mind is so well governed that no temptation, no insult, no distraction can fracture his stability. This kind of man is not loud, not emotional, not reactive. He moves with a stillness that unsettles everyone ruled by their impulses. His strength is not in muscle or aggression, it's in psychological solidity. When desire knocks at his door, he chooses whether he opens it. When fear whispers in his ear, he decides whether it deserves attention. When people try to provoke him, he remains a calculating observer, not a participant in their chaos. That's the mark of an unbreakable mind, choosing response over reaction. Most men crumble because they are emotionally available to the world. They hand out pieces of themselves through anger, jealousy, craving, or insecurity. But a disciplined mind keeps its emotional gates locked. This is not numbness. This is controlled access. The unbreakable man feels everything, but expresses only what serves his strategy. He plays the long game, not the emotional game. He knows when to speak and when to stay silent, when to move and when to wait, when to detach and when to strike. Dark psychology teaches that the one who cannot be easily swayed becomes the one others instinctively follow or fear. His stability becomes authority, his composure becomes power, and his presence becomes influence. This is the man you must become, the man who doesn't seek control over the world until he first secures control over himself. If you're ready to learn the mindset that commands respect without asking for it, say Section 9, and remember to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Number 9, commanding respect without asking for it. Respect is not earned through kindness, loudness, or moral purity. Respect is commanded through psychological presence. Machiavelli knew that men follow strength long before they follow virtue. When you walk into a room with a mind that is disciplined, controlled, and silent, people feel it before you speak. They sense the weight of a man who does not need approval. They sense the steadiness of someone who cannot be moved by flattery or manipulated by emotion. That's the secret. Respect gravitates to the man who refuses to chase it. Most men lose respect because they desire it too much. They perform for it, beg for it, soften themselves for it. And every time you seek respect, you lower your value. A man who commands respect operates by a different rule. He becomes the standard. He speaks less, observes more. He does not reveal his intentions. He does not justify his decisions. He does not overshare his emotions. This makes people uncertain, and uncertainty breeds respect. Dark psychology shows that the human mind fears what it cannot easily read. And so the man who is unreadable becomes the man others instinctively treat with caution and regard. But this isn't about pretending to be cold. It's about building an internal structure so strong that you don't need external validation to feel grounded. You honor your own word more than anyone's praise. You commit to your mission regardless of who notices. You walk away from anything that compromises your self-command. And when people see that level of inner sovereignty, they can't help but respect you, even in silence. This is the Machiavellian path to authority. Not demanding respect, but becoming the kind of man for whom respect is the only natural response. If you're ready for the final evolution, say Section 10, and remember, like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Number 10, the rise of the untouchable man. This is where everything comes together. The discipline, the control, the mastery of desire, the silence, the presence. This is the birth of the untouchable man. Machiavelli believed that true power belongs to the one who needs nothing from anyone, and that's exactly who you are becoming. A man who cannot be manipulated because he has no loose desires for the world to exploit. A man who cannot be broken because he has mastered the battlefield inside himself. A man who commands respect not through force, but through psychological gravity. The untouchable man is feared by the weak, respected by the strong, and studied by those who cannot understand how a single mind can hold such stillness. He does not brag, he does not chase, he does not crumble. He moves with purpose. He speaks with precision. He chooses his alliances carefully. His emotions are contained. His impulses obey him. His ambition is cold but sharp, like steel forged in the dark. This man does not react to insults because insults cannot reach him. He does not fall into temptation because temptation cannot touch him. He does not fear loss because he does not cling to anything fragile. His desires serve him, not the world. His discipline shields him, not his ego. His presence alone shifts the energy around him. And when he strikes, strategically, silently, decisively, no one sees it coming. That is the essence of Machiavellian mastery. That is the DNA of psychological sovereignty. And now that is the path you walk. This is your evolution from chaos to control, from craving to command, from ordinary to untouchable. Carry this mindset into every decision, every interaction, every ambition. And if this monologue sharpened you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the knowledge that keeps you powerful,